thing is that Operation Trash Bag got its roots from Operation Tupperware.
Yeah, man. The last time the fight scene that I enjoyed last time was a fight scene between Winter Soldier and Captain America, and that was only one scene, right. And it was just like that was like the best that the MCU could come up with.
Yeah,
like it wasn't like that. It wasn't like a top tier fight scene in all of cinema.
Yeah,
just for that specific universe.
And there are some like fun action sequences, right? Like I think that any time that there are some fun action sequences in the MCU movies, but those aren't really the things that grab me most of the time. Most of the time it's just kind of like story and characters, you know.
Right. Shang Chi, I was like, y'all brought me the characters, but y'all got some cold fight scenes. Oh my gosh.
Right.
And I'm like, there are minimal cuts? I was like looking at them, it's like, they didn't cut? They didn't do a cut?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was one fluid take?
Yeah,
like you go, Marvel.
And especially like the scene at so the scene on the bus was a pretty good one. But I think especially like I think one of my favorite scenes, probably one of the coldest scenes, was the scene when at the very near the end when it's the flashback of his dad putting on the 10 rings again, and he goes and like messes up everybody in that restaurant.
Yeah, Doug. Like, you know what? So what's funny to me about that scene? You just killed this warlord's wife, right?
Right.
Y'all had little to no protection at that restaurant. Like they only had like 2 guards, like 2-3 guards, and I was like, y'all remember who this dude was?
Yeah.
And y'all just. Yeah, like he messed y'all up the last time. Y'all just now getting revenge. You kill his wife. Y'all got y'all whole army here ready to go in case he shows up. And of course they surprise like, oh, he's here. Nigga, you just killed his wife 2 hours ago. What you think was gonna happen?
Yeah, that was like
they were surprised.
Like, bro, y'all gotta think a little bit harder. You're gonna have to do better than that. Like that was just dumb.
Dumb. And mind you, it wouldn't have mattered. Wouldn't have mattered, but dang, still, like y'all couldn't have booked the whole restaurant. I mean, they would have appreciated the business for sure. Y'all just playing a poker game with y'all ain't got snipers outside. Y'all don't got snipers. Y'all don't got no lookouts. This dude walked in and no one said a word.
Yeah.
He had time to look at his son and be just like, hey, those dudes over there, dog. You should have already had some radio dudes say, hey, 10 rings is here. Like y'all ready? Like, no, he brought his kid with him,
and it wasn't even like that's the thing. Like, it wasn't even like he walked in like with his like sleeves down, like his sleeves covering the rings, bro. The rings were out there. Like they knew that he had the rings on, and they knew that they had just murdered this dude's wife.
And no one said a thing. They were shocked.
Nothing.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he was coming on back. Really? Dude went out for groceries. Like. Not like y'all stayed to check he was dead or not. Right. Y'all didn't even steal the 10 rings while you were there.
Yeah, you didn't know.
Like, the kids?
You didn't kill him. You didn't kill him, right? I mean, like, granted that like they didn't go murder his kids, so they got honor and whatever. But like, you killed his wife. You didn't kill him. So like, how could you have possibly thought that there wouldn't have been any repercussions?
And you know what kills me the most? Mr. 10 Rings, I gotta look up his name because the names always escape me. But there was no like detective work to even find these dudes. He just knew where they were. Like he didn't do a Google search. He didn't do any John Wick research. Let's go find some information. I'm telling where this guy is. He's like, I know where they're at. And he just walks up, which tells me like he's done this. Like he's been there before. these guys didn't even have the force to change locations for their poker game. He's like, oh, I know where they at. Son, come with me. I know who did this. He's like, hey, is it Johnny? This is Johnny's place. Is that guy do that? Yep, he was one of them. All right, be right back. Like, I came home from getting groceries. I see my wife's dead. I put on my 10 rings. I grab my son. I go right to their poker game with no research. Dude's right there.
Yeah,
ready to get his ass whooped. Like y'all, that's worse than what's that freaking good movie? Ice Cube.
What?
What's that movie called?
Where Ricky gets shot?
Yeah, Ricky gets shot.
Oh yeah, Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood. Where that gang is just out eating burgers and fries after they just got done murdering somebody.
Right.
Like, it's worse than that. Like, they just... Like, did y'all just forget y'all just killed somebody today?
Yeah, like... That's the thing that I never get, is like, dudes will go and murder someone's family, leave dude alive, and then just be going about their business like everything cool. Like, he ain't gonna come back on that.
And they leave the dude alive like actually do something. Like, it'd be different if, like, they killed... You know, I guess they just call him the Mandarin. If they killed the Mandarin and, like, you know, they didn't expect his wife to do something, or they didn't expect his son to come do something, I could see that, like, on some Lion King. Yo, I just killed Mufasa. I ain't worried about Simba. He ain't gonna survive. I could see that. You know, he's got 18 years to figure it out, right? I got 18 years to plan. I'm gonna forget, but I got 18 years to plan.
Right.
You didn't kill the dude you intended to kill, the one that can do damage, and y'all weren't prepared for him to retaliate.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Let me just go ahead and poke this bear, steal his honey, and, you know, when the bear does bear stuff, I'm confused. Like, I don't understand that. But besides that scene was really good. I liked the scene when Shang Chi and him fought at the end, too.
Yeah,
When he started doing his mother's style and incorporating into his father's, too. Like, being the best of both of them.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done, and the fact that they were able to visibly show him incorporate his mother's style into it, which, you know, brought the Mandarin back some humanity.
Yeah.
Towards the end, I thought that was really well done visually. I think it's one of my favorites, especially when you know, each got 5 rings, they're both using. I'm like, that's hype.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
hype. Very few cuts with the CGI.
Yeah,
and they still had very few cuts in that CGI fight.
Yeah,
very few.
Yeah,
and that's hard to do. Like,
yeah, especially because, I mean, a lot of times the cuts and the edits are done to try and hide the mistakes, and so yeah, I think I really enjoyed those fights. You know, even when it like went into the CGI realm of, you know, and whatnot. Yeah, it was good action. It was well done. I liked it. Unlike I don't have high hopes for the Eternals movie. I saw that trailer, and there's like a scene where like dude is like the knockoff Sebastian Stan, the Irish Sebastian Stan.
That's a really good description.
Is like dude looks like we need a Sebastian Stan type. That's what dude looks like. But
strong jaw and brooding.
But yeah, there's like a scene where Irish Sebastian Stan is like going to fly into a monster, and he very clearly looks like PS4 graphics. Like it is noticeably CGI.
And you know what's worse? Like I appreciate them trying to acknowledge the questions of the audience. Like, you know, Thanos wiped out half the universe. Where were y'all at? Since y'all are just so powerful, omnipotent, you know, just where were y'all? I love how they try to just throw that question out there like it just forgives it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't. Like, and I don't know why everyone fell in love with Earth. Everyone falls in love with Earth for whatever reason. Like,
right.
I know it's our planet. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's our planet. It's where we want the story to be. But when you have a galaxy full of just different, so much potential, I just don't understand why we just keep coming right back to Earth. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy did this really well where, you know, they took advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
and they never came back to Earth, and they easily could have.
Yeah,
they easily could
like
have.
there's no reason to come to Earth, and yeah, outside of the fact that like, well, I mean, this is where all the heroes that we wrote are. So
yes. Why is he coming back to Earth? Well, that's Stan Lee. Where he wrote them all. That's like why they all located in New York. Well,
right.
talk to Stan Lee. That's where he.
Well, he knows those streets. So
yeah, he knows those streets. He knows Harlem. He knows Hell's Kitchen. He knows like 10 of them heroes in Hell's Kitchen. Like damn, and these guys never ran into each other at any point in time. Like, gee whiz, like New York sounds like a terrible place to live.
It really does.
In the Marvel universe, like if you live in New York, your insurance premiums must be through the roof because of all the space attacks. And then even the small stuff that happens. I mean, they have at least, 30 heroes between the main MCU and even the Netflix series. Like, at least, like close to 30 heroes just residing. Except Captain America. Captain America resides in the DC.
Right.
So, until he moves to the compound. So scratch that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, there's so many different, like all of the the number of heroes that are like based in New York in Marvel, like it's just amazing to me. Like that's the whole New York fantasy that New Yorkers have, right? Like it's the biggest, brightest city on earth, and it's so big that like people can destroy entire city blocks in one weekend and not run into another superhero for whatever reason.
Not just that. Where's the police? Where's the FBI? Like, how is this place not at all being surveilled at all times?
Yeah.
Like you got multiple kingpins whose empire is literally paid through drug distribution.
Yeah.
How high are y'all New Yorkers? And how is the economy going to where all y'all can get high at night but still function during the day enough to work on a pandemic of heroin?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. And how is that not news? You have the Hand literally functioning as a crime syndicate selling dope and heroin on the streets. And these guys make millions of dollars. I don't know if they do it across the United States or the world, but you would think it'd be on the news like the heroin, meth, dope pandemic in New York. You got Kingpin, you got the Hand.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, of like all of the heroes in New York. So you got Moon Knight, you got Fantastic Four. That's 5 right there. That's 5 right there. Hawkeye is in New York. Punisher, Iron Fist, Spider-Woman, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Spider-Man.
You got 3 Spider people.
Yeah,
3 Spider people. And
you got 3 Spider people. Then you got the Wasp. They're in New York. Yeah, so like in the MCU, I think they're like West Coast, but in the comics, like they're East Coast.
Yeah.
Like all the different people that are in New York, man. Like everybody is in New York just because they were like, well, we've already drawn a lot of New York.
So let's go in and slap this guy in there. Man, like who would want? It's like when people talk about living in Gotham versus living in Metropolis.
Yeah.
We talk about Batman v Superman. It's like before this Batman v Superman, they made it look like they were like across the river.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
But like when you look at Gotham and based on how it's described, why would anyone want to live in Gotham?
Right.
No one. No one wants to live in Gotham. How do we get to Gotham? How do we get to the point where it's like, hey man, that's a good idea, let's go live in Gotham's underbelly? Like what the hell? And in Metropolis, like everyone's like, it's all nice, it's sunny.
Mm.
People like the crime is there, but my parents are getting shot on the way from the theater. You know what I'm saying? Like you're talking about you're talking like high collar crime, like we robbing banks with super rifles.
Yeah,
and these robbers are actually pretty nice. It's like, hey, we don't want to hurt anybody.
My thing is like how are you a police officer in Gotham? That's the thing that gets me. right? Like that's one of the things that I liked about it was in I think it was like one of the episodes of Invincible where you got old boy who can get like concrete skin or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he walks into like some place to steal some high tech stuff, and he's like standing in front of like the security guards, and he was like, "No, I can either." He basically said, "Nah, I can either mess you up, and you going and
I'm gonna take this anyway."
Yeah, I'm gonna take this anyway. I'm gonna mess you up. You're gonna get injured. You're not gonna get enough. You're not gonna get paid. All this stuff, or you can just walk away right now, and you'll be all right. Like that was basically. And the dudes were like,
and they shot.
All right,
no hesitation either. And like the thing was, it didn't take them much time to think about it because they put their guns in the air and just started shooting off to make it look like they did something.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
and that's realistic. And even Invincible does a good job of like showing how realistic it is. But I thought Gotham, the whole thing was that most of the cops are corrupt. There was a lot of corruption, which is why like a lot of the like just some very low response times. Like
for sure,
was rampant.
Yeah,
but that brings the question again: why do I live there? Like there can't like I know there can't be that many jobs, and it's not like these people are like sitting here with PhDs and whatnot. They going to Wayne University, and like everyone here is like I got a degree they can't use. I'm like, you work at a factory, go to Metropolis, work for Lex Luthor.
Right.
At least in Metropolis, they give me a 401k. I'm not worried about some random getting beat by some thug and some random dude in a bat costume comes out of nowhere and beats him up.
There was an episode. There was an episode of like the '90s, the '90s Batman when. Man comes into he's like working for like the bad guy that Batman is like infiltrating or whatever, right? And like Batman comes in through he comes in through a window, and dude goes to like check the room, and he sees Batman, and he doesn't say anything, he doesn't make a move or anything. He just closes the door, turns around, and then he passed the other dude. He was like, anything going on? And he was like, nope. And then just like keep walking.
And he had the nerve to look at the door too. Just like look at the door first. Nope. And kept walking.
Bro, that dude knew what's up. See, that's if I was like Muscle in some like I don't know, some super villains gang or whatever, that'd be me. I'm like, these regular dudes, I could beat I got that. Batman, nah, I'm good. Nah, you ain't paying me enough to catch that fade.
And on top of that, it's like, what you gonna do? You gonna beat my ass? Like, look, I can handle your ass whooping. I ain't handling his ass whooping. Because Batman be sending people to the hospital with some of the beatdowns he's given. And I know these henchmen don't have no health insurance.
Yeah.
So they ain't seeing no doctor. Like
right. It's like it's not on the board. It's not on the like they're not paying me over the table. So yeah, I'm not getting workman's comp. I ain't getting paid down.
And that's if the guy lets me live. Like I've seen too much now and disposed. I might get killed anyway. Like, we gotta rethink Batman's pedigree. But then again, why do I live in Gotham? Like, as a henchman, I can work for Lex Luthor, which based on Batman v Superman is across the river. I can just do a hop, skip, and I can just look across the street where the sun's shining. Yo, Lex, you need some muscle? Yeah, we always looking for people. Cool. Yeah, we got 401k, because I'm Lex Luthor. I'm rich as hell. One person you got to worry about Superman. But don't worry about that. I got drones for that. I got stuff for that. I just need you to lift stuff. Don't even worry about anything else.
I promise you, bro. Like, the only people that live in Gotham are people who can't afford to move somewhere else. A. B. They're making money off of the chaos that is happening in Gotham. Or C. They believe in the city. They want to...
I hate that excuse. I hate that. Can you see that? Going back to when we were talking about New York, I believe in Hell's Kitchen. No, I believe in the people that live in Hell's Kitchen. Oh, that's why you're, run the club that ships all the drugs into the city. Okay, that makes perfect sense. That's
the problem. You have like the idealists who are like, oh yeah, like this city can actually be something. This city can actually be blah blah blah. I'm like, bruh, I understand that your parents lived here. I understand you were born here. I understand your great grandparents. But bro, there are 50 states in this in this country. There are a number of countries all over the world. You can be in a lot of places that are not this place, right? Like
not this place at all. And it comes to the question of the loyalty. Like the city was once great. Was it though? Because when we were kids, we thought a lot of things were great that really weren't. Like we thought a lot of things. Like Terry Crews, I remember watching this commercial with Terry Crews talking about how his mother made macaroni and cheese, and she used like sour cream and cottage cheese. Made macaroni and cheese. Like, oh, as a kid, that was delicious. And I remember sitting there looking at my mom, like, Mom, that sounds super disgusting. She's like, yeah, when you were a kid, you ate all kinds of nasty stuff. You thought it was delicious. That don't mean it's good now.
Yeah.
And that carries with me because when you hear people like, this city used to be great. Yeah, when I was 10 years old, there was always stuff to do. There was always animals to play with. You mean those rats?
Like, bro, I'm 29. I'm 29. They had 19 years to turn this shit around. It has not budged. So I'm moving to Metropolis. Bye.
Oh, it was crazy. It was never good. It was just all you knew. And that's what bugs me. It's like the city was once great. Like, no, man, it's been like this for like the last 20 years, man. I've been the same crackhead on this same street. Hey, you've always been here for me. Yeah, I've always been here, been high too, man. Like this stuff hasn't changed. Like, but it'll be great again. No, man, it's exactly the same. I tell you, you just 29 now, and you ain't a dumb kid anymore. Like, that's the only difference. Like, it ain't changing this city. I'm still gonna be high here on this corner. Now, in one decade, and if I live to see it, I'll still be high on this corner the next decade. Like, the city's always been great. It ain't changing. It ain't changing.
Yeah.
And talking about location, bringing it back to Shang Chi. What a rant. Shang Chi was located in California, which was a nice change of pace. Just a different mean of scenery there. Because talking about that trolley scene, or no, it was on a trolley, not a bus. What is Shang-Chi? Is where he's at? He's in California, right?
Yeah, San Francisco. It's San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. It's San Francisco. Okay, I want to make sure I wasn't tripping. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because those hills, you can't mistake those hills.
Yeah, the hills, and particularly that the infamous like curvy hill that they got. Yeah, that's San Francisco 100%.
Yeah, that was a good looking place. I gotta talk about two people. I gotta talk about Katie, which is played by Aquafina. Mm-hmm. And you want to talk about? I feel like Marvel took this movie and they actually listened to a lot of the feedback. I felt all her comedic timing was perfect or near perfect.
Right.
It felt natural. You know how Marvel does like the jokes that really cut the tension, and you're just like, dang, I was super serious now.
Yeah, because they did that a couple of times with Black Widow, and I was like, bruh. This ain't it, and that was the thing, the reason why I will wholeheartedly agree is because I was very skeptical of Aquafina in this movie because in Raya and the Last Dragon she had and I get that it's not on her. I get that she didn't write it. I don't know how much of it was like improvised in Raya and the Last Dragon, but there are definitely some.
It felt improvised.
Yeah, there are definitely some parts where it was just like, bruh, this is not like. One, it's not relevant. This is going to age poorly. It's not very funny, and I didn't feel that way. I didn't really feel that here in Shang-Chi. There were like maybe one or two moments where it was like, okay, that joke didn't like land perfectly, but it didn't take me out of it. There are parts of Raya that just took me out of it, and I was like, "Bro, what are we doing here?" I don't know if it was because it's set in like quote unquote modern day, but yeah, that's the thing that killed me. But yeah, I think I was Aquafina did it. She even like there were like more serious parts where it was believable that she was serious.
Well, that's what made it so believable, because she felt so natural, and with the comedy, because when she needed to be serious, she wasn't just throwing a joke everywhere she could.
Right.
It was where it would actually fit, and that's where Marvel is criticized a lot, because it feels like they try to force jokes in there.
Yeah.
Like with, for example, first one comes to mind, Infinity War, when they're talking about Thanos coming, using the Time Stone or destroying the Time Stone, and they talk about ice cream.
Yeah.
Very awkward joke, doesn't fit, doesn't get a laugh, but it's thrown in there to try to get a laugh out of people.
Yeah.
Awkwafina's jokes always felt it was like natural, even her reactions, because I felt like she was the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Like she did, and that's what made her really good with those roles. Like the bus scene, for example, when Shang Chi starts fighting, she's like, "What the fuck?" Like her shock is just like, was awesome. It was like, dude, I thought this guy was nobody. The hell?
Yeah, yeah.
And it made it funny, but it was natural, because that was a natural human reaction. Because she was literally us in that situation. We literally were thinking that same thing. Like, this dude's a chauffeur.
Yeah.
At least as far as we know at this point, this dude is beating this.
A valet. Yeah.
A valet. And so her reactions were our reactions, which is what it felt like. Which felt more real and organic, especially at the end when she's explaining it and she referenced things that we would reference. She's like, he did, like Shang Chi did some Kamehameha thing and blew up the demon dragon's stomach. I laughed there because that's something I would say.
Honestly, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking as I watched him like do like form the ball of rings.
The ball of ring. Dog, I was waiting for it to be. It's like, I'm like, don't do it, but I'm okay if you do it at this point. You got me invested, move if you do it. If he's just like, dude, this is like a Kamehameha wave, shit, ha! Like, that actually would take me out the movie. But the fact that she references that afterwards makes it funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Had he said that in the thing, like, oh, this could be a Kamehameha wave, but like, okay, it's on the nose.
Yeah, I would have been done.
Get it? It's like, you took me out the movie. You were doing so well, movie. You took me out of it.
Yeah.
What the heck were you thinking? But Awkwafina, I felt her comedy, I felt like her being the comedic character really worked in this film.
Yeah, yeah.
And I wasn't upset that her arrow kind of saved the day. I wasn't, because I mean the movie called out later. It's like she's like, I was so lucky. I only been practicing for like a whole day, and my arrow shot through the thing's neck.
Well, I think there's like a level of it too where it was like I am glad that she was more than just the comedic character. That like, okay, she actually did something, and the other thing is like she wasn't a damsel in distress, you know. So like, at least
at first she was. There's like one scene where she actually was, but she has no fighting ability, no powers. And she even still showed her worth by being, by seeing things a little differently than Shang Chi would, or at least being the voice of reason when he is not really thinking straight or helping motivate him to help him find a decision. Not because he's in love with her, but because she's his best friend.
Right.
Which was a breath of fresh air that you could have. Now, those two, I believe these two will get together later. They kind of set up for that. But I thought that was really cool. They could be completely platonic.
Yeah.
And be as close as they were without being romantic.
Yeah,
I think that was... You want to talk about progressive? I thought that was really progressive there.
Yeah, because I feel the same way. Because I feel like they could have easily like done something like contrived, and it was kind of hinted, but it certainly wasn't confirmed. And I'm like, bro, like let people just be let people just be friends, right? Like,
right, like even like the scene where she sees him with his shirt off for the first time, and she sees that he's jacked. She goes like, she makes a face like, oh wow, like she's like impressed.
Yeah,
like I was concerned it was going to turn into like she now has the hots for him now that she's seen this other side of him.
Yeah,
but they never take it further than that. She acknowledges that he's got a very nice body.
Yeah,
but it's never brought up ever again.
I think the thing that was like, I think the thing that kind of like dissolved some of that though too was the fact that she was like, what happened to your shirt? Like it was more of like, it didn't turn into, it was more of like, bro, why are you out here with no shirt on? And so it wasn't really like that. I think that was what was, I thought that was like what was funny about it.
Yeah, so I mean, that was a breath of fresh air having two platonic friends that didn't have to be romantic at the end, and they've hinted at it. And if they do go that direction, I would be perfectly fine with it because their relationship is beyond just romantic.
Mm-hmm.
They have really good banter.
Mm-hmm.
These two actors had phenomenal chemistry. And I don't know if it was from Shamu Liu or Aquafina who carried it. I thought it was very well balanced between the two as far as portraying their friendship. And I give Aquafina props for being in this movie. I think she did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
I think she did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And Shamu Liu did a phenomenal job with his choreography. I mean, he's a star in China, right? Yeah, he's an action star in China. Am I correct in that?
No, prior to this, he had smaller roles. He wasn't really he was really an action star. And he's Canadian.
Wow, I'm way off.
Yeah,
my bad.
You're hella off. He was
Not
in
even close.
Most of what he's done prior to this has been in kind of comedic role. So, he was in Kim's Convenience, which is, I believe that is Canadian. Yeah, and then I think one of the running jokes recently is that he was also a stock photo model. And so he started posting a bunch of his old stock photos of him in an office setting on the phone or whatever.
What?
Yeah, it was actually pretty hilarious. But and then he posted a picture of him on the on the opening night, on the carpet or whatever, where he's he's kind of got a smug look, kind of looking back at the camera, and he was no more stock photos for this guy, and it's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, he's mostly done comedy stuff in the past. He's occasionally had some smaller roles, romantic roles, dramatic roles. But yeah, I think this is really his first action thing that he's done.
Wow, good for him. I didn't think that. And for our audience here, my bad. I didn't.
Yeah,
know,
this is. I think this is Simu Liu's big come up.
Well, that's fantastic. Good on Marvel for giving him a shot too. Because dude is in shape for this movie, that's for sure. I thought he was an action star before that. Because I know that Tony Liu Ching-wan, I've seen him in other stuff. And I don't know if it's been... he looked familiar in other movies. To me, I couldn't put my finger on. I'm pulling up his stuff here. If there's anything I recognize. Yep, it was Red Cliff. I remember watching it. I recognize you from somewhere. He was in Red Cliff in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of the generals in that movie. And he had quite a few action scenes in that.
Yeah.
And I remember recognizing him. I'm like, oh, yeah, this guy does a phenomenal job. Red Cliff 1, Red Cliff 2. And if you haven't seen that, it's really good. Highly recommend it. Subtitles, because it's a Chinese movie. So be ready for that.
Mm-hmm. He was also... So Tony Leung Chiu-wai was also in... he was in Hero with Jet Li.
Yeah, he was in Hero.
Yeah, so
he was in Hero.
Yeah, so I think that was yeah, I feel like that in particular, because I think that particular type of you saw a lot of those cinematics were kind of some of the inspiration for some of the action sequences in this, and I think that was kind of I thought that was very cool, seeing that. But that was one of the things that I was looking forward to in this movie, was the particularly the Chinese cinematic inspiration that was going to go into this film, particularly in those contemporary martial arts movies. And I think that was I felt like that was part of what made a lot of the fight scenes so solid, was was being able to see that. So yeah.
Yeah, Marvel's not disappointing. This is a breath of fresh air, and I hope they keep this trend up. I'm not expecting, Tom Holland to be, pulling off these scenes here like that. I mean, it'd be cool if he did. Can you imagine Tom Holland doing kung fu?
No.
These high level martial arts
not
scenes.
At all.
That'd be fun to watch. But one thing I want to bring up when we're talking about Tony is a portrayal of the Mandarin, the Master with the 10 Rings. Me, of course. A couple things. I liked him as a villain. He was a sympathetic villain that I could actually get behind. And this is what I mean by that. This man has lived for thousands and thousands of years, taking whatever he wanted, and he was very, very lonely. He meets his wife, who bests him in combat. The thing he literally does. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't overpower him either. Her style literally reflects the power back on and uses momentum. Her art is the counter to his, which is fantastic. I thought it was a brilliant thing. But it causes him to lower his guard, even starting a family and putting away the 10 rings, which is huge. And I don't think people, just when they review this, don't talk about how this man relied on the 10 rings for so many years to put that away for someone he loved, because she gave up her powers too. They both gave up their powers to start a family. He's still running he's still doing bad stuff. I mean, he's still running the guild of assassins.
Well, he wasn't. That was the thing. He wasn't. He stopped. He completely stopped. Because when they came, when the gang came to confront him, there was no one else there, right? Like that wasn't what happened. Yeah, he started re-amassing his power after she died. Like that was the whole thing. So yeah, he gave up all of that. Right. So he gives up all of that. So he's made a change for the better for love. She dies from his past. Right, which is brutal. And he's a broken man from that. Yeah. And then this dark spirit uses her voice to say, "Come free me." I understood why he would do everything possible to get there, especially since that was her hometown. Yeah. This wasn't just some random place. This was her hometown. It was alluded that there were secrets behind there when he went there, but he stopped caring because he found the love of his life. He didn't care about what was behind there anymore. Yeah. So when he hears her voice and they're trying to talk him out of it, I can understand him when he's like, "I don't care." And I know people were just like, "Oh, he's so stupid for hitting that wall down." I'm like, you guys don't understand how lonely this man was. And the one thing, I'm gonna quit everything. And for those that are listening, think about it like this: if you're a person that smokes and you meet a woman that makes you quit smoking, it's hard to quit smoking on your own as is. But this person makes you quit smoking, and then she dies, and you go back to it, and you hear her voice again. Yeah, you want that influence. You're gonna want to do everything possible to get that back. And he didn't care what he did to get that back. And I thought that was so realistic as a person, because emotionally he's still human. This dude was in love, lost his wife, and this thing was use her voice to say, "Come free me," and he was like, "Bet, I'm on my way." Yeah. He's like, "All right." Yeah. I love this analysis, but I do have to point out that you just compared the power of the 10 rings, in which he had for over 1,000 years, to smoking. So
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I think a more apt description is imagine you had all of the power of the world. You became a god. And you could control the world. You could rule the world. You had the world at your fingertips. And you met someone who convinced you to give that up.
And then she died.
Yeah.
And then she died.
Yeah.
And then you hear her voice from some. Yeah. You hear her voice come from some demon. I don't and people were online were kind of flaming him a little bit. But I think people fail to realize that that's one of the most human things. It wasn't like he did it just to one of the demons that I'll bring her back. It was her voice. And I don't know if anyone here has lost a loved one, but when you hear the voice of someone you lost
Mm-hmm.
or you imagine their voice, like, I would get teared up too. And if I had the power he did to try and change
Mm-hmm.
that, I would too. And so I loved how they made him a sympathetic villain, but a realistic sympathetic villain.
Yeah.
I'm gonna compare him to Killmonger and Thanos real quick. Everyone loved Thanos because he's a villain that has a plan. We understand his backstory and why he's the way that he is.
Mm-hmm.
Do the genocidal maniac.
Yeah.
Genocidal maniac. Yeah, he can make all the arguments in the world, but he's still a genocidal maniac. And why couldn't he just, I don't know, increase the resources by double instead of taking away half the people?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, it's very flawed, but like, you understand him a little bit, but you see where it goes very wrong, though. So you can't like say like he's super sympathetic. Killmonger, you know, with things, especially African Americans in the United States, we can understand his anger for why he wants to, you know, do a revolution.
Yeah.
You know, we understand him quite a bit. But then it kind of goes off the rails because you're just like, well, Killmonger, you didn't have to do some of the stuff that you had to do some
yeah,
because
like he just become like he'll just like kill anyone and anybody. Like there's no code, there's no honor, there's no like value to real life. Like he'll just kill anybody, right? And at that point he just becomes a manipulator.
Right. And so like you lose, like his message gets lost in that. He's less sympathetic, you know, but the people are trying to say, oh, he's super sympathetic. It's like, no, like the fact that he crosses this line here,
Mm-hmm.
like his girlfriend was black, he just shot her straight up. Like, what are you talking about? Like trying to free the oppressed, or keep us from oppressors. You shot a black woman here. You shot a sister. What the hell, man?
Mm-hmm.
Like the hell? Like, you know, like so people try, but Killmonger changed the whole game for a lot of people because it's like, man, I never vibe with the antagonist so well, you know. But even he, like halfway through, kind of his cracks started to show. I felt that the Mandarin in this was consistent throughout. Like I felt that way. Like he still loved his kids, and he wanted his kids to join him.
Yeah.
Throughout that, the only reason he took out Shang Chi because like you're in my way, and he gave him plenty of warning. He's like, I'm going to go free my wife, your mother. If you're in my way, I will have to take you out.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to do it. And so, like, throughout, he was very consistent, and I really liked that. That's what made him, and that's what made the sympathy stick for me. Even when he was fighting him at the gate, even at that point, because he was so desperate to see his wife again,
Mm-hmm.
that he would do anything to do that. And he only killed when he had to. Like, he didn't want, like he only killed when he had to. It wasn't like the village gets in the way. All right, kill him. So he gave him a warning. He's like, look, I know what y'all got back here. I want to see my wife. Yeah, we're not going to do that. Well, I'm going to kill y'all if y'all don't let me through. And they're just like, bet. He's like, better bet. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All y'all dead. And so, like, when you see how he's hitting the door and you see that the demon's getting more frustrated because it's so close, like, you're just like, why did he break out of that? It's like, 'cause he's so close to getting something that he wants. And you feel for him. And so I liked how Marvel really made him sympathetic in a realistic way, but kept it consistent throughout through his motivation,
Mm-hmm.
and that came through his actions.
Yeah.
And then even when at the end, his love for his son, like he sees the errors of his ways because you see the big demon dragon come out, and it's like it goes from one of the funniest scenes. It was like, "Let me out!" Like it gets super distorted, and it's like, "Let me out!" He's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, that was an Eric Andre moment.
It was super funny, but then he realized the error of his ways, and because he still loves his son, instead of like being angry,
Mm-hmm.
he looks at his son, and I don't know the words to describe the look that he gave him, but he gives the 10 rings to him, because he still loves his son. He's always loved his son,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And when he gets his soul sucked out, he's not even really angry about it. You know what I mean? It's almost like it's peace for him, like from his torment. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna just accept this death. You know, I could fight this dragon myself, but you know, I miss my wife, so I'm gonna see her in the belly of this beast real quick. You know, and so I liked him as a villain. I really did like him as a villain. I think he's probably one of my favorites, just because of how complex he was as a character.
Mm-hmm.
He had a whole arc in the whole movie. Like he had an arc himself.
Yeah,
like
I mean, I would say that he was so Wenwu. I would say that he is probably up there in terms of like, I would say in terms of the solid villains of the MCU. I think I need to stew on it a little bit more. Probably have to see it again, but I definitely walked away of like, yeah, I like him as a villain. I like the progression of his character, and I like that relationship as well. You know, I've talked about before how I like parental like solid representations of a parental relationship in a movie, because I think that was the thing, is like, I think you being able to see like he cares for his kids in some capacity, but he's not there in the way that they need him to be, right?
Right.
And I mean, like, dude has been around for 1,000 years, and only like 29 of those years has he been a dad. It's like,
right.
I'm like, yeah, you know, dude wasn't being a father for 1,000 years. He was, you know, he was
a warlord.
He's been a conqueror for 1,000 years. So that was, I thought that was like a pretty interesting scope.
And even with the points about the fatherhood, I'm not gonna say he was a good father at all, but he thought he was being a good father with what he was teaching, because that's all he knew. Like, hey, you know, my dad taught me to be a warrior, so son, you gotta be a warrior. Hey, you got a sister, she needs to stay in the kitchen. You know, like it was so traditional.
That wasn't even like that wasn't even the motivation, though. That wasn't even the motivation. Like, it wasn't a tradition thing. It was a matter of like, because him raising Shang-Chi after his mother died was in response to her dying, right? Like, the way that they were raised up before she died was very different from how they were raised after she died. And his sister said that he didn't want to look at her because she reminded him of their mother, right? Like, that was what he said to her. That was the reason why he didn't train her. That was the reason why she.
Oh, see, I missed.
Yeah, you clearly weren't paying attention.
I missed that part because I thought it was some sexism stuff, because I thought that was the reason why.
Nah, it was. I think. No, yeah, that wasn't what was necessarily implied. That wasn't what was implied, and that wasn't even the explanation that they gave. There was definitely the moment when she talks to her aunt, and her aunt tells her that, like, you've been in the shadow for too long, and we're all trained here as equals. Which was definitely that was the discrimination of the sexism. His reasoning was just that, because even her mother was training both of them, right? Like, her mother, like, in some of the flashbacks, her mother was going through forms and sequences with both of them, right? It wasn't just Shang-Chi, it was her as well. And so their father, his response was to her his wife dying, and that was when the change happened. That's when he started training his son to be an assassin, and so I think I don't even think it was like it's a tradition thing, because I mean, the dude is 1,000 years old and has the powers of a god. Like, the tradition is whatever you want it to be. Like, and so it wasn't that. It was just, again, it wasn't a good decision, but it was ultimately a decision that was based off of what he had experienced, right? And that loss that he had. So, yeah, I mean, that was what it was, so. Yeah,
I feel that. I appreciate you. As far as making that distinction, I thought it was sexism, because that's what I picked up. Yeah, but I've only watched the movie once, and I watched it a couple weeks ago, so I can admit I missed some stuff. I would. Thing about this movie is I would definitely watch the movie again. Mm-hmm. And one more thing I want to put in there, as far as one thing I love, because like some people, like a lot of MCU fans or comic book fans, I'm not gonna call myself a comic book fan because I didn't go to school for that to figure out which volumes go to what, I didn't get a degree on that. And, but I did not like how they changed the Mandarin to an actor. I loved how they brought Trevor back,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of retconned what happened in Iron Man 3 with the use of the word or the name the Mandarin.
Well, they didn't. See, that's the thing. Like, they haven't retconned it because all of that still stands. They didn't undo anything that they did. What they did was they clarified it. And brought it back.
Clarify them.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Wen-Wu in the movie is a amalgamation of two characters in the comics, which I think that they actually did the character justice by not giving him a dumbass name. And he even says it. Wen-Wu even says it in the movie of like Americans were afraid of an orange simply because of a name. Yeah. You know, like you had a name to it. But like the whole thing of like him saying, because Wen-Wu is a combination of the Mandarin from the comics and it's Shang-Chi's father in the comics. His name is like Fu Manchu or some dumb shit. Because comics in the 60s. But yeah, it's like
Fu Man.
Yeah,
Fu Manchu.
Yeah, it's dumb. Yeah, because of stuff like that. So yeah, I would like to believe that they made a good decision in actually giving this dude an actual name. But yeah, I think that the way that they kind of clarified the whole Mandarin thing, I liked that, just kind of, I think that's part of a lot of the MCU is like they've kind of cleaned up some of the messier parts of comics in some ways. Like you don't have like your principal Asian character playing a supervillain whose name is Fu Manchu, who's named after a beard. Like you don't have dumb stuff like that in the MCU. And it comes together a lot better, and it's just things like that. So yeah, I mean, like in terms of like how it lines up with the comics, I'm not as a comic fan or someone who likes comics, I'm not really bothered, or do I care that much about how much of the full content is carried over. I think the heart and soul of the character, I think, is the big aspect of it to me, right? Like, do you have the heart of the character? And they do. They did have the heart of the character. Now we're not going to talk about Iron Fist, but yeah, in general, they've
Iron what?
They've done that. I will say,
Iron shit,
so when Wong was in the tournament, I thought he was fighting the Abomination at first.
That's what I thought it was too. Was he not?
I don't know. That's it. It was not clear to me, and I didn't check I didn't see the credits, but I think it was the Abomination, but it didn't look like what I remember from the movie.
No, it was definitely different from the movie, from the original.
From the Incredible Hulk and
yeah, definitely different from that. But they don't really count that movie anymore. So I mean, like if Mark Ruffalo can come in and make some changes, I guess they can make him more of an Abomination. You know?
Yeah.
Like, cause I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that's Abomination. And I was like, okay, you look different. You got more gills now, but all right.
Yeah,
I ain't mad at you.
So that was I was not expecting that. I kind of stayed radio silent for like most of social media for this movie. So like, I was trying to experience it in full, but and in that I succeeded. So I was not aware that any of this stuff was going to be happening. That's also the brilliance of. I was talking about this earlier because we saw this at like 3 in the afternoon.
On Thursday?
Yeah, we saw.
That must have been nice. That must have been a nice theater.
Bro, we got to the movie theater, and there were like, besides the people working there was one other car in that parking lot.
matinee shows are the best.
I'm telling you, man. I love seeing movies in the middle of the day and in the middle of the week.
Yeah, man. There's no one else there but you.
Yeah, like it was literally only me and Jackie when we were watching it. So yeah, if you can get some time off in the middle of the week to go watch a movie, I highly suggest it. That's one of my favorite pastimes. I honestly hate being in like a packed theater to see a movie, just because, like, I don't know, you gotta kind of like, I don't know, because not everyone is respectful. You got some people, like, depending on what movie theater you're in, you be sitting close to people, and I'm not down with that. Even before pandemic, I wasn't down with that. But yeah, that's been my preferred method of seeing movies for the longest time. It has been go and see it, like, probably like the within like the week after it comes out, in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, and typically nobody will be there. At most you'll have like 5 or 6 other people.
See, that is a perfect scenario, because you could do not whatever you want, but you could choose your seat, you could enjoy yourself. Mm-hmm. There's just so many things. I always
pre-order my tickets too, so like, because I'm a Celebration Rewards member, so like, I got the app.
That means audience, he gets that real butter for free. He gets free real butter. He gets the bougie stuff. He gets that layered in the bag, my guy. Layered in the bag, and they know what he is too, because they asked for his phone number. I know, because I'm one too. I'm bougie too. We get that real butter layered through the popcorn bag. I'm talking, I get a medium bag of popcorn. I want scoop of popcorn, real butter. Scoop of popcorn, real butter. Scoop of popcorn, real butter. That's how we do it when we are at Celebration. Especially during the matinee, because ain't no one else in line. They got nothing better to do. They can't tell you no.
Celebrate this real butter.
Celebrate this real butter, my guy. Y'all don't understand how good popcorn tastes with that real butter. And then if you want to get real bougie with it, put a little bit of salt and put the artificial stuff on it. Ooh, it's a delicious combination of real and fake stuff. It's delicious.
I feel like you're countering your own point.
No, I love them both. But the real butter costs money, and as a Celebration Cinema Reward member, you get that for free. And they layer it on there beforehand, because the real butter is better long for the most of the movie, because you're in there for 2 hours. You get sick of the artificial stuff after the first 10 minutes. So, like, you get the real butter to really make that popcorn taste good throughout the process. But at the beginning of the movie, it's salt, real butter, artificial butter, and then you sink into that real stuff. Nice and smooth.
This is true. But yeah, that midweek movie, that's where it is. That's where it's at. I highly suggest it.
You get some movie bucket?
No, they don't. They don't give out movie buckets anymore.
For real?
I mean, they haven't had Bronco Bash here in the past 2 years, and because people would just get the bucket and just come in and get free popcorn, they had to stop, because that was the thing that people would do. Like, they would get the bucket. So for people who are not from Kalamazoo, or did not go to Western Michigan University, there is typically a big kind of like festival, kind of like welcome to school deal that they do, welcome to Kalamazoo thing that they do, that is typically open to the public, where companies and student organizations, they set up booths and hand out things. And one thing that Celebration Cinema used to always do was they would have these movie buckets that they would hand out, and if you had that bucket, you can just walk into Celebration Cinema, get free popcorn. Like, you just get a free bucket of popcorn just by walking in. I think, and anybody in the as long as they had these available at Bronco Bash, you could just come by, pick up your bucket. And I can't tell you how many people who weren't even students at the school or weren't even affiliated with the school would just get this bucket and then, like, on their way back home from work, drop by Celebration Cinema, get you a bucket of popcorn, and go home.
It was so great. I remember, like, for y'all, like, this is how good it was. I went there and I had 2 buckets. I filled up a trash bag full of popcorn. By trip number 3, they asked me what I was doing because I had gone in double-fisted with 2 buckets of popcorn. I've gone back for 2 trips. They wondered what I was doing because I came back with 2 empty buckets every time. By trip 3, they asked, what was I doing? Now, this was Monday night. No one was there. But I told them what I was doing. They said, we're not allowed to do that, but that's pretty baller that you have a trash bag full of popcorn in your car. Now, what makes it even worse, or funny for some people, is that this wasn't discovered by any of my friends in my apartment until one fateful afternoon when someone was going through my cabinets and all of a sudden this big trash bag full of popcorn fell out of the cabinet. A lot of questions were asked. My sanity was questioned as well. And turns out I really love the hell out of popcorn. Never ran out. You know, there's always popcorn at my place, everybody.
I mean,
so,
that. I think the thing is that Operation Trash Bag got its roots from Operation Tupperware. Which was,
look, we're gonna do until Operation Tupperware.
So Operation Tupperware was hatched during the fall of 2010 when King, Lord, and Young Message were freshmen at Western Michigan University, the Western Michigan University.
Now you guys know where we went to school from. Now you guys know that. Cool.
And we hatched Operation Tupperware. We bought a thing of just like different size Tupperware, and we went into the dining hall, the Bigelow dining hall at Western, and we had Tupperware hidden in our backpack. So we just I think I just cleared out like all of my books and stuff and just stuck a bunch of Tupperware in the backpack. And we sat in, there was like, the way that the dining hall was set up was that there were 2 major parts of the dining hall. There was kind of like the large general dining hall, and there was a smaller dining room off of the main dining hall. And so we went into the smaller room where less people would go, and we set up shop. We got our table. Then we would go up to grab food, and we also made sure to know what was on the menu because we went on General Tso's Chicken Day. We went on General Tso's Chicken Day, and we got our plate, went to our table, moved we relocated the food that we had gotten into our receptacles for transport. Some people know them as Tupperware, and we rinsed and repeat. No pun intended, because we literally rinsed the plates off and repeated that process. And so
over and over again until those Tupperwares were full, my God.
So by the time we went home, we had like a mini fridge. Like each of us had like a mini fridge full of like food that we had gotten from the from the dining hall. And the funny thing is, I was doing so King was doing martial arts. He was doing mixed martial arts at the time. I was doing flag football and club rugby. And in the midst of all of that, like that Tupperware the food in that Tupperware lasted like a week and a half. Maybe.
It didn't last too long. I mean, like we tried to make it last for a little bit.
Yeah, but Operation Tupperware, I'd like to say that it was a success. It was a very successful operation.
Oh yeah. So how many times did we attempt it after that? Did they catch on to us at one point in time?
I think someone like someone asked a question like once. But the other thing was that the other thing about the dining halls was there were two things about the students that were working there, because there were students working there. You know, like most of the people working there were students. They either really did not care, or they thought that we looked like every other black person. Because halfway through the school year, I lost my ID, and I just picked up someone else's ID, and it was just like another black dude. We didn't look remotely similar whatsoever.
Wasn't it my ID?
I did use yours sometimes, yeah. I did use yours sometimes. And for those of you that like haven't seen King and I, we do not look the same. Like we don't like our
tone is different. I'm darker than he is.
Yeah, our skin tone is different. Like our facial features are different. Like we don't look the same. Like
the only thing we have in common now is we both have a beard now. That's it.
And
that's now.
Yeah,
and that's now.
Yeah, that's now. It was even more pronounced back then. So like with all of that, I didn't look like the dude whose like ID that I got. So shout outs to you. I think his name was Brandon. But shout out to you, Brandon. And it wasn't our friend Brandon. We did have a friend named Brandon, but it wasn't Brandon. But like, and dude had unlimited meal plan too. And I just used,
of course he did.
I just used his card for the rest of the semester. And the thing about it is you have to hand your ID to the person who is swiping you in every time you walk in. And most of the time, they would look at the picture on the ID, look up at me, and then just swipe the picture. Like, they didn't stop and like, hey, this guy doesn't look the same. Nope. You would just swipe it. All right, go ahead, enjoy your meal. Like,
your unlimited time in the cafeteria. Enjoy your meal.
Yeah.
Oh my
gosh!
You know, we gotta do a segment of Bronco shenanigans.
Yeah,
and just talk about some of the shenanigans that we would pull off in that place. Remember when one of our members, I'm not gonna say his name, fell asleep mid fork to his mouth while eating food?
Yes. Oh gosh. God.
Or beer pong cups, or the goose, the goose nemesis.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that guy.
The goose nemesis. My gosh. Yep, that was a wild time.
Parkour and combat boots. Parkour and boots.
Parkour and combat boots. There was a quote unquote Call of Duty tournament happening on our floor or on ground floor for a while at our dorm.
You mean the jungle?
Yes, the jungle.
Which now looking back at it, might have been kind of seen. Nowadays would have been seen as racist.
That's hella racist. You're gonna stick all of the black people, most of whom are from Detroit, on the ground floor of the probably the least upkept dorm at that time, and call it the jungle. Yep.
Call it the jungle.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, if I could go back in time.
But good times. Good times. But good times, again, watching Shang Chi was a good time, was a breath of fresh air. I'd almost call it a palate cleanser. And real quick, I give Benedict Wong props for having his character be called Wong. Benedict Wong playing Wong. I love it. I didn't know this until I looked up his name. Especially with Benedict Cumberbatch. Dude's been in like 3 movies so far, and is going to be in like 4 or 5 more.
I didn't know his last name was Wong. I didn't know his name was Wong. It's like his last name is literally Wong. I did not know that. And for those listening, you didn't know that either. His last name is Wong, and he's playing Wong.
Really?
He's literally playing himself in these movies. But with that being said, so final thoughts on Shang Chi. I didn't know that. I thought it was always a typo. To be perfectly honest with you. But I also didn't care much about his placement in like the credits. Like they didn't care about his placement in these movies either, because he could have had a much bigger role, and they just said, and he just dip out.
Come on, Wong, you're invited to my wedding. That was an iconic.
Guess what Wong did after that? Saying I'm protected. I have to go. Yeah. You've been really nice to have you at the battle with Thanos at the end of that Wakanda.
He did.
Great.
He did. Yeah. Man had to protect other people.
The Sanctum. He didn't say people. The Sanctum.
The Sanctum. The Sanctum is like a gate between worlds. Like it's like a pillar that protects people from demons and stuff that can destroy the world. Yeah, I think that's pretty important.
You know what movie I want to see? I want to see what Wong was doing during the Infinity War when he was protecting the Sanctum. And I wouldn't even be mad if he's eating a sandwich with some chips. And like strangers like trying to contact him. He's hitting like the do not disturb button on his telepathic phone of some kind. I am busy. Wong, where were you? I was busy. Cuts to him eating a tuna sandwich or whatever he was asking for at the beginning of the movie.
I mean, he wasn't the one. He wasn't the one who destroyed the entire universe because, like, he went back in time to undo some stuff that he couldn't undo in the What If episode. So I wouldn't be putting that on Wong.
No, that wasn't Wong's fault. That's not Wong's fault.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't go back in time and do that. That wasn't him. So I wouldn't be putting that type of juju on Wong.
Wong keeps it real. But that's all I have to say about Shang-Chi. I think it was a breath of fresh air for the MCU. I hope that they keep the trend going. I do not have high hopes for the Eternals at all.
Yeah.
I just do not. And I will see it anyway because it's Marvel. And Marvel has enough buy-in for me to at least go see the movie. Like, I went and saw Black Widow. And I guess I'll go see Eternals too. I am excited to see what they do with Spider-Man. But the Eternals is the next one that's up, right?
Yeah, it's November.
I'm not
really excited for Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. Spider-Man is not my favorite superhero in the MCU, but in general, Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, and I'm not excited to see that movie. It does not look. It looks interesting, but it kind of lacked soul to me. So
what do you mean? Let's talk about that. What do you mean by that?
I don't know. Like all of the clips just seemed. Honestly, it kind of felt like one of those fan trailers to a movie where it was like there's no real substance. There's nothing that really grabbed me. It seems very predictable. Yeah, like I don't feel like I know that they're going to be doing the whole like it's like into the multiverse and Doctor Strange is there and there's going to be magic shenanigans. I understand that, but at the same time, I felt like Spider-Man teaming up with Doctor Strange should have been more strange. If that makes sense. Like, it should have been...
Yeah, like in his movie, like it's a Doctor Strange movie where it's in the Multiverse of Madness, Spider-Man shows up versus what we have. Spider-Man movie where Doctor Strange
what I mean is, like, it should have been more, like, out there. Everything that I saw in that trailer looks very cookie cutter.
Oh.
And it doesn't look like... It doesn't really look like they're doing... It doesn't look like a lot new is happening, It just looks like your typical Spider-Man movie where he regrets something that he did, and so now he wants to go change it, and there's going to be a bad guy, and he's going to have to fight the bad guy and realize that maybe he shouldn't have been worried about that thing. And because that's literally been every Tom Holland Spider-Man movie where it's like, man, I don't really think I can do this, or I don't think I can handle this. And then so he goes and he tries to find a solution to him being able to handle it. and he realizes that he was able to handle it the entire time, but there's a villain who reminds him of that. And right at the end, he realizes that, like, maybe I shouldn't be trying to undo what happened. And then, you know, he defeats the villain through Spider-Man stuff. That's literally every Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. That's also been basically the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. It was a lot of the same stuff. So it didn't seem like there was anything.
I'm not familiar with this Andrew Garfield. I'm not familiar with this Andrew Garfield. Can you elaborate on this Andrew Garfield?
Yeah, I don't know. You can call him Eduardo Saverin from the Social Network. Basically, the guy who really made Facebook when he put on a Spider-Man suit and swung around for a while and made like goo eyes at Emma Stone for 2 movies until he like killed her by snapping her neck.
The true villain of Spider-Man 2 is Spider-Man all along.
It was Spider-Man all along.
All along. Oh man. No, I can understand what you're saying about it being kind of cookie cutter, but I'm hoping it's because they didn't want to reveal too much from the trailer. That's what I'm hoping. I have low expectations. I'm excited for it because all the possibilities for this movie. And I honestly felt like the whole Spider-Man from different other Spider-Verses. I mean, that would be cool if they do it the right way. I know it's rumored Tony McLaughlin will come back, Andrew Garfield will come back, do something like Into the Spider-Verse again, to where they bring all these guys back, and it's going to be a fun time, because Into the Spider-Verse is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Top 5. I will say that. And for those that are thinking, you know, well, King, you said at one point in time, Lord of the Rings is your favorite movie. Yeah, the trilogy, it counts as one entry, not all 3.
Yeah.
Everybody. So
right.
Don't do that to me, because that would suck. Because then I can only have, like, that whole trilogy and then 2 other movies. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because Into the Spider-Verse was my favorite movies of all time. And it sounds like they're trying to do something similar to that with the introduction of the multiverse. What I'm concerned with is that with the anthology series that are coinciding with it on Disney Plus, such as Loki, WandaVision, and now the What If series, that those will play a big factor into it.
Well, what if is not going to be factored into the MCU? Because they're different universes, different timelines. They have nothing to do with it. So
well, what have you seen episode 8 yet?
No, I haven't. But the thing is, what ifs are just that. They're other universes. So I don't feel that anything that is happening in the what ifs have anything to do with. They're not going to have anything to do with the MCU. I would have agreed with you.
I would have agreed with you until I watched episode 8 of the What If, and I'm not going to spoil it here. I would have agreed with you until I watched episode 8. And the thing is that what are they going to do with episode 9 to finish up the series? They only have 1 episode left of the What If. They only have 9 episodes slotted for it. Episode 8 changed, at least my idea of what they were planning to do. Episode 9 will confirm if this will have an effect on the multiverse. Because it went from an anthology series to something that actually could build into something. And it's a big question mark on if they could build into something. But if you've not watched episode 8 of What If, I'm not going to talk spoilers here with that. But
I will tell you that regardless of me seeing episode 8 or 9, I still think that What If is not going to have any bearing on the overall MCU. Again, we may see bits and pieces of that as we're delving into multiverse stuff. We may see characters from these other multiverses, these other universes, but it's not. I don't think that they're going to be driving factors.
Well, I hope not. But with that being said, with this whole multiverse stuff, the anthology series have opened up the door to the multiverse, which is Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness.
Right.
So we know that with all the stuff that Marvel's been prepping us with, has been multiverse stories. We're going to different multiverses of different choices that were made, which is gonna be pretty interesting. And going back to Spider-Man, bringing back, you hear the Green Goblin's laugh from the Sam Raimi movies. You get the same Doc Ock from the Sam Raimi movies.
Mm-hmm.
Which, everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's Doc Ock from the Sam Raimi movies. Oh my gosh, shut the hell up. I love Spider-Man 2. I like that movie. I would even say I love it. I wouldn't skip a date to watch that movie. That's for sure. I would put that movie on. I'll probably put it on after this because it's a good movie to watch.
I think
However,
I think you're mistaken. I believe you're thinking of Satipo from Indiana Jones.
Oh, Satipo from Indiana Jones. You're wrong for that. I see what you did there. No, but with bringing back Doc Ock from the Sam Raimi movie, and it's not the same Doc Ock. Let's be real. It's not the same Doc Ock. We know that. It's just played by the same actor. What I'm concerned about is that they're using a lot of nostalgia bait to keep the people that have been following this stuff forever to get excited over nothing. We know that's not the same Doc Ock, because the Doc Ock that we love from the second Spider movie died in that movie, but does not have the same characters as the one that we saw in that trailer.
Yeah.
Not the same. Not even close. And we know this because he's alive.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't sacrifice himself to save the city. And before you're in the comments like, well, the situation could have been different in the movie. No, he regained his humanity at the end of Spider-Man 2 and fought for good. Even if he survived, he would have been a force for good, science, in the betterment of mankind after that event. Based on that movie, he was not a villain. He was more of an anti-hero, if anything. And I'll argue that, and I will die on that hill. He wasn't a villain. Anti-hero, maybe. Well, you have to call him a villain, but anyway, he redeems himself, okay? He redeems himself. You don't have to call him an anti-hero, but I'm not going to call him a full-on villain because he redeemed himself at the end. Point is that this Doc Ock is not the same one that we face in the Sam Raimi movies, and I am concerned that they are hitting with nostalgia bait to get older fans more invested in the movie, because they use Willem Dafoe's Goblin laugh and the same Doc Ock from the same Raimi trilogy. They didn't show any characters from the Andrew Garfield. None of those. They didn't show anything that would reference Crocodile. Nothing that would reference their Goblin or Electro. Nothing. And it's like, okay. We have Tom Holland, who... I love Tom Holland. I think he's a phenomenal actor. Not just Spider-Man, but most stuff he's in.
Delusions! That wasn't Tom Holland, but that was a movie that Tom Holland was in.
When Tom Holland killed New Batman and also Winter Soldier.
And also Edward Cullen.
Yeah, also Edward Cullen. Breaking down his delusions. For those that don't know what we're talking about the
devil all the time.
The devil all the time. Yeah. That movie
a solid movie.
It's a solid movie, but there's some
hella depressing. But
it's hella depressing.
But it is Tom Holland. Yeah, Tom Holland. There's a lot of actors and actresses in that movie, but I think the biggest ones that are relevant to this conversation: Tom Holland, Sebastian Stan, and Robert Pattinson are all in it. Robert Pattinson plays a West Virginian Baptist preacher who leans
that deep southern pastor,
that deep southern drawl, and
that deep southern, and he wants to eat the gizzards to show that the poor people that are so poor eat the food. This man also is a degenerate that loves the young little women, and when one of them is pregnant, he wants to go in and tell the people it's nothing but delusion brought upon him by the devil himself. Delusion.
But yeah, it is a I do not suggest watching the movie if you are like if you are looking for something upbeat, but if you're looking for...
it's not upbeatable.
Yeah, it is not upbeat whatsoever, but it is well acted.
It'll draw you into the story because you're going to see what happens.
And again, you got Tom Holland, who is like, I think he's like 26, playing like a 17-year-old. I think he's going to be there for like the next 5 to 6 years of his life.
Good for him, fountain of youth. That guy must never drink, only exercising, but salads and protein per day. I love it. I love it.
Tom Holland.
But back to Spider-Man. Spider-Man No Way Home is interesting because I love the Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I loved Homecoming.
You had to catch yourself there.
Let's be real. Okay, so I loved Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
I tolerated Far From Home, and I'm gonna say I really tolerated Far From Home because at that first, I watched the movie twice. That first one, I was like super excited just to get another movie with Tom Holland in it.
Mm-hmm.
Second time watching it, oh man, I had some problems.
What? Really quick, like in like 2 minutes, what were your problems?
2 minutes as far as problems go. Geez, now that you put me on the freaking spot. The whole concept itself, as far as not realizing that, that Mysterio is faking the whole entire freaking thing.
Mm-hmm.
That he's an employee of Stark, that no one could probably do a background check or facial recognition, that the drones are all powerful and omnipresent at all freaking times, which is interesting in some aspects, but come down to straight up ridiculous in some other aspects. Peter's Spidey senses not being able to pick this up, but they try to throw a throwaway line with Spidey Tinkle not being able to not working at this point in time, which I understand when Marvel did that. They had to essentially nerf him to make him not solve every situation that the Avengers come across, because the level of the villains that the Avengers face, Spider-Man with all his powers could probably handle on his own.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Holland and his school buddies annoyed the piss out of me, especially with some of the stuff that was going on the bus with the whole drone. He called it a drone strike on his own bus, and then somehow keeping everyone from realizing he did that, and keeping Spidey powers a secret. Flash Gordon did not get enough screen time in that movie. His best friend, Big Guy, being a total simp. Mary Jane, or what's his name?
Did you say Flash Gordon?
I just said Flash Gordon, didn't I?
You mean Flash Thompson?
Oh! Yeah, and so
Flash.
So they probably. So yeah. So also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they brought Flash Gordon in there. He had no relevance in the movie whatsoever. And then.
Yeah, outside of getting hit in the dick like one time, and I guess he was streaming. That was his whole deal.
And the teachers being so incompetent that they don't even check to make sure that museums open when they go. That doesn't make any sense. It was an excuse to get them over into that area.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't enjoy that at all. Some of the villains, at the very least, not the villains, but the drones being the villains that, like Hydro Man and the fucking Molten Monster, those not actually being things, but actually just illusions.
Mm-hmm.
It was a bit of a downer because it's that kind of makes me think about how powerful these drones are. Why does anyone use anything else? This is Tony Stark's tech the entire time. Brings up more questions. Where was this versus Thanos? Because this is before he died.
Well, I think it wasn't Tony Stark tech. It was the people who worked for Tony Stark basically pooling their resources together.
The drones were already there prior to that, because the glasses that Tony left for Peter had control of them. The drones were already there.
He integrated the glasses to control the drones.
So he did it before he died.
No, they did that after they got the glasses. Peter gave him the glasses, and they used them to control the drones. Okay,
if they did that, no, they didn't, because Peter called a drone strike on his own classmate. That was by accident.
Yes, that was fuck, what am I saying? The same way that Tony is able to call up his suits anywhere and everywhere. Yeah, you have that arsenal, but the camouflage and the illusion technology that they had, along with like all of the sensors and everything, that was not integrated. That wasn't something that Tony Stark had.
No,
that's what I'm saying. And so when they got the glasses,
you're correct on that.
When they got the glasses, they were then able to integrate it into the technology that they had, and so it was combining the Tony Stark component with what they had. That was the whole plan from the get-go.
Well, no, that part I get. I'm not talking about that part, because that was the whole reason why he could put together that whole Avenger level threat and make himself the hero. He couldn't do that before the technology he had. It couldn't output that much power, or sustain that level of illusion. But having watched it twice, I did not enjoy it nearly as much the second time. Not nearly as much. Tom Holland getting hit with a bullet train. I wish it wasn't a bullet train, because dude just got tanked by it, didn't know it was there, and then and they just want to skate off like, oh yeah, he took some damage, like he's hurt. Don't you get it? He's hurt. He should have died right there. And all you had to do was just like not use a bullet train to do that. I don't know why you made it like the fastest train that we have available to do that, because it makes questions of his durability and why he's even afraid of things like a bullet. But I liked Homecoming better than I liked Far From Home, for sure. And
I mean, that's fair. I think that's fairly accurate. Like, I mean, that's I think that's what most people felt.
Yeah, it just didn't live up to what I thought as far as expectations go from Homecoming. And it's two different stories. I mean, like, they tried to have. I mean, like, it's hard to navigate. I still enjoyed the movie. Mm-hmm. I'll say that. I enjoyed that far better than I enjoyed the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. That's for damn sure. And for those that don't know, I absolutely hate both of those movies, for sure. Don't get me started on that whole calculator BS on the second one.
Look, we don't need to. We're good. We good.
So hold on.
We're good.
So Dad with the calculator with a missing pocket.
We're good.
With coins.
We're good.
Someone's supposed to discover where a train station he's never brought him to. Now, don't get me wrong, he died on his way there. But who has a convoluted lab such as that and hides the gold coins in a calculator? How do you find this out? That calculator just upsets me. I know people are like, oh man, I didn't like. I saw one person review that I didn't like how the dad and the mom were seen as super spies, and the dad was at that point directly involved in the spider experiment. Well, if you watch the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon, you know that one of the plot lines was them being Soviet Union spies. It actually works out in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I will give them that. They actually do try to tie in that plot line. And I give them props for that. It's actually not inaccurate to what actually happens in the Amazing Spider-Man story and the comics, I believe, as far as where his parents went and how they actually...
No, that's not accurate, because...
Well, as far as the Amazing Spider-Man,
No. Peter's, for much of the comics, Peter's parents have nothing to do with his story. For most of the comics, there's a one-off what if, or there's a one-off what if Peter Parker's parents were spies or something like that. There are those, but Peter's parents have nothing to do with him as a character. Now, that's not the reason why they were bad, because they could have done something different, that would have worked if they was involving Peter's parents and who he was and how that was all relevant. They could have done that, but they didn't. That's the problem. That's the reason why it sucked. Is because
it sucked. It sucked. Look. So, to answer everyone's question, look, I don't care for the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 for various reasons. We don't have time to go into it today. I'm not going to go into it today, though I want to, because I will go on a rant on why I did not care for those two movies. Andrew Garfield, I think, is a phenomenal actor, and not that role. Maybe, I don't know. I loved him in Social Network because he's the person I related to the most in that movie. And yeah, he is actually the person I related to most in that movie, Social Network. He was me. I was like, dang, I I am this guy. This guy is me. I feel for him. Andrew Garfield as an actor is really good. He's been in a lot of phenomenal movies. I just didn't care for him as Spider-Man. That being said, if they bring him and Tony McLaughlin into this movie on some level of Into the Spider-Verse,
wait, Tony McLaughlin? Who is Tony McLaughlin?
Tony M. You know who I'm talking about.
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire.
Did you say Tony McLaughlin?
Wow, that's on me. My bad. Wow, it wasn't even close.
I'm like,
wow.
I'm like, who is this?
Your man?
Who is this pop star? Who is this pop star that you're referring to? Tony McLaughlin.
Get your man's. My bad, everybody.
Oh, you're good, but that is hilarious. Okay,
I'm glad we made the distinction.
So Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire. That's Tony McLaughlin. Gee whiz. But they do something Into the Spider-Verse. I'm gonna be excited for it, but I do have some concerns because in the trailer it alludes to a confrontation between him and Doctor Strange, which I feel with Doctor Strange's power set, it wouldn't really be hard to take out Spider-Man. But then again, you know, they've nerfed him in different scenarios as well, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
So same thing here. So I am excited to see that movie because it's gonna be Marvel. I'm excited to see Tom Holland as Spider-Man. So I honestly do enjoy Tom Holland as an actor as Spider-Man. I think he portrays Peter Parker very, very well.
Look, I don't know, man. Like I'm not excited to see. I'm not excited about the Spider-Man movie. I'm not excited about the Eternals. I'm fairly certain that I'm correct on the Eternals, and that's for a number of reasons from what I've seen from the trailer. That it does not look like really solid quality. In terms of Spider-Man, I just haven't seen anything that really draws me to it. And to be fair, I wasn't excited about Loki. I wasn't looking forward to Loki. I wasn't really even interested in it, but it turned out it was a really solid show. So yeah, I mean, I've been wrong before about stuff that I'm not excited about. I'm not wrong often, I will say that. So
that's also true, guys. And it's annoying. It sucks sometimes because he's rarely wrong.
So again, me not being excited is not the end all be all, right? Like, I mean, if me not being excited does not. I mean, it's going to be bad. It doesn't. It's not a huge indicator. It's just that I haven't seen anything that indicates that it is going to be something that is going to be new or different. So, but with that being said, we'll see. We've still got a lot of time between now and then. At this point, we got 3 months. And yeah, I'm curious about what it's going to be. So, yeah, there's that. Speaking of excitement, so you watched Squid Game, right?
What? This game with the squid? Of course I watched Squid Game. This surprising Netflix blockbuster home run. It's set to be the most watched show on Netflix of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Squid Game is. Yes, I have watched the Squid with the game. I've watched Squidward's game.
Simple yes will suffice. So
we don't do simple here. So
we don't do simple here. So I
you know this.
I'm not really. So I'm not going to go too in depth on Squid Game as much as I was interested in talking about death games. There are a lot of these death game movies that they've been coming out. Movies, shows. So Squid Game is one of them.
Most recent one at the very least.
Yeah, it's the most recent one. There's another one called Judge, which was another Korean show that
For one,
came out recently. The Alice in Borderland was one. King's Game. I mean, there are a lot of these kind of like death game movies. The most recent kind of like for a lot of the Western and American ones, there are we have Saw. Saw is kind of, it's somewhat along those lines. That's more, it's similar, but we also have like the Escape
Hunger
Room.
Games.
That's battle royale. I wouldn't put that in the same. I wouldn't put that in the same thing.
So
because,
so in the comments, separating battle royale from death games, we're going to separate those two because I put death games and battle royale in the same thing. Watching this because I felt a lot of the same tropes. So for those listening, we're going to separate those two because there are a lot of Japanese, Chinese, and even American that play off the battle royale death game premise.
Yeah.
So for the sake of this, we're talking about specifically the game aspects. So Squid Game, for example, Dead Man's Wonderland is a good example of an anime form of that. I need one more. Give me one more that I could use as an example
of a battle royale or
a death game.
Escape Room.
Escape Room. Sorry, Escape Room.
Yeah.
That's what we're focusing on. So in the comments, understand that yes, they have similarities, but we're making the distinction here. They're not the same thing. So we're going to focus on just death games, not battle royale.
Yeah, because they certainly certainly share a lot of those similar tropes, which I'm sure that like you were pointing out from like in Squid Game, like people forming alliances, right? Like, and there's a huge part of like getting people to trust you or like getting on side and people betraying you, right? Like those are big things in both kind of the death game subgenre and the battle royale subgenre. But I think the thing that separates the thing that often separates them is that there's a battle royales tend to be more free for all type of they tend to be more of like a free for all versus like there's like an arcade format to a death game.
Like there's specific games. The way that I best understand it is that there's specific trials for a death game,
right,
versus a battle royale, because you can make the alliances and stuff like that in both, which is why those two get blurred so much. But what they lack in the battle royale, the free for all aspect, is there because the one objective is just to get to that one objective.
You're just trying to survive. That's the whole thing. Is like you're trying to survive. So it's not like, and that's the thing. Like in Hunger Games or the Japanese movie Battle Royale, it's literally just about survival and killing everybody else.
Right. Whereas in things like this and like Squid Game, there are actual competitions to that you actually have to overcome. So though they have similarities, there is a distinct difference. One is far more organized. Death games are far more organized. There's far more organized because I know someone's in the comment section like, oh, in Hunger Games there's a game master and there's games in it. No, there's not specific tasks of specific games to weed out different contenders.
All of that to say, like, they're separate things. I don't want to go into that.
We can go all day about,
but
we can go all day about that. But continue.
I think it's interesting that this is kind of like the trend. I'm curious why. I'm just thinking about why death games are so big. Why is that such the trend right now? Because like I said, there are a ton of death game movies and shows that have come out recently.
Well, if we're talking about theories here, what I believe is the same thing as why Hunger Games got really big at the time. we all, and why Fortnite got really big, we all kind of tried to relate to some character in it. And since there's so many characters you can relate to, you can put yourselves in their shoes of how you would handle said situation. For Squid Game, for example, trying to figure out how you would pass each game is very immersive of how to try to get past it in each game. So it gives you, I believe, for me, at the very least, my theory is that because you can immerse yourself into what the people are going through, you have a high level of investment in immersion to where it's interesting to see what happens next. You know, one of these characters that you're following is going to get through that. Most people know that when they're watching the thing. But what they're thinking of is, oh, I didn't think about how I was solving it that way. I would have solved X, Y, Z. A lot of things I see that come out of these things is, how would you survive these games? How would you do it if you were in that situation? And it's really about you putting yourself in there personally. I mean, even if you want to bring in Battle Royale, people that play a lot of Fortnite, by Fortnite I believe that's so popular, is because people could actually live out that fantasy of what would I do in such situations if I was 3-on-1 on a firefight, or in the reverse situation, how I would take that out, or be tactical in the situation, live out that fantasy. And in Squid Game, for what it does really well is that it also brings in financial destitute, which brings in characters. And this is why I believe Squid Game itself was very popular. It made it very human. Very human. These death games and battle royale shows do what other shows don't have, what I would say, the balls to do, which is show both sides of the human condition. The side of complete ruthlessness and selfishness, of self-preservation, or complete empathy and sympathy to make sure to value human life. Squid Game, I believe, embodies that with the two main characters that we follow very well. And as you see it go on, you see the two conflict with each other. And I believe those things are why those things can be very popular to watch. Mm-hmm. When I was watching Squid Game, for example, I was thinking about how I would conquer some of these challenges if I was in their situation. Mm-hmm. One of the things, and again, I gotta say this for everyone, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I'm assuming you've already watched the show. If you haven't, go ahead and click off, watch it, come on back. But I have to say, otherwise don't blame me in the comments.
You either watch the show, or you're going to watch the show.
Right, or you don't care what I'm going to say.
The people that I'm talking to are either, we're hoping that you've either watched the show, or you don't care and you just want to hear our commentary. So, with that being said, so your thoughts. What are your thoughts?
So, I thought what was interesting with episode 2, titled Hell, I believe, where one of the clauses, so to give people an idea, the people that are in this game, 456 people, are chosen for this for these death games to win a ton of money. I'm talking in American currency, billions of dollars. It can essentially change your life, and you would never have to work again. The people they choose are financially destitute, and they really have no other options to get out of the debt that they're in. So they're chosen for this game through a test, and when they arrive, they're all given a number. Mm-hmm. First game goes really badly for a lot of people. More than half of the people are killed, to their shock and surprise. But with the contracts that they signed in episode 1, it's shown that they can actually. The rules are: clause 1 is that you must participate in the game. Clause 2 is if you don't participate in the game, you are eliminated, which means you die. Mm-hmm. Clause 3 is if the majority decides to not participate in the games will end. Mm-hmm. So it's completely voluntary. Mm-hmm. Completely voluntary. And what's interesting is that at the end of episode 1 is that they do actually succeed in a vote of ending the game.
Yeah.
But the people actually, when they return to the world, hate it so much, they come back to the game where they know they will die.
They will likely die.
And they will likely die. And this is the gambler's mentality. Normal people like you and I, and people listening to, most of the people listening to this, I can't speak for everyone, would know that, I'm not going to risk my life for billions of dollars because, my life ain't that bad. But I'm also not in crippling debt to where I'm selling my organs literally to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Right? And what this show does very well, it shows the human condition of what people are willing to do to get out of the jam that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone here is a degenerate in some form, one way or another. No one here is innocent.
Yeah.
But even the game masters want to give everyone a second chance to be equal. And that's their whole shtick. Like, everyone here is equal. Everyone has an equal shot of getting all this money. We all know y'all are pieces of shit out in the world. They literally show them each taking the test, not each one of them, but they show a montage of people taking the same test, showing how much each person's a degenerate, just like everyone there is. Everyone's got a different reason for being there, but everyone there is essentially a degenerate, and which is why they've agreed to do it.
Yeah.
And as the show goes on, you see our two characters that are mirrors of each other, they're foils of each other, of the greatest parts of humanity and the worst parts of humanity. And I believe the reason why these shows are so addictive, or at least popular, at least nowadays, is that we can see ourselves on one side or the other. Mm-hmm. And in between, too. There's a lot of in between, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they have to show the extremes to really get the foils of the main character and our antagonist.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You can find yourself in some of these characters, and we all like to think about what we would do in those situations.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes more interactive, because when these characters face a challenge, we face a challenge. For example, the first one was not very interactive. It was more of a shock, I believe, for the audience to realize this is real, mm-hmm. and their actual stakes, because it's red light, green light, which, green light you move, red light you stop. But there's a 5-minute time limit, so you can't move too slowly. Otherwise, at the end of zero, you die anyway. Mm-hmm. So you have to go at a certain speed. If you go at a pace that's too fast, you stop suddenly, and you move, you die. So you have to go at a pace that's quick enough and safe enough, at the same time, keeping that in mind, while the pressure of knowing that you'll die if you go too fast. And this is before you knew you could die in this, so you have to deal with the stress and the shock factor.
Yeah.
But the games 2 to 6, except Squid Game, the last one, mm-hmm. You can really immerse yourself in how you would solve it. Mm-hmm. Like, how would I be able to get a cookie to cut out better than everyone else without breaking? And the challenge, and that challenge, or how would I be able to get 20 marbles from the person I'm paired up with without using violence? You can immerse yourself into that, and that immersion is what I believe why these are getting so popular. People want to be gurus and talk about, oh yeah, that was me, me, the one that got C's all in class, the one that never paid attention, the fat guy that never exercised, can't run more than a mile. I would, do this instead of what they did in there, because that's a logical thing. I'm a genius. You know what I'm saying?
And so much, so much so that there's like, that there are entire like YouTube channels dedicated to like how to survive these games, or like how to, knowing good and well that like people aren't going to be in this situation, right? Like, but it's interesting though, like, and I think like, with what you're saying, especially like there is that element of like, what would I do in this situation? How would I work through this? How would I, how would I survive in this situation when something that seems like a impossible situation, and it's exhilarating too, right? Like, oh, how are they going to survive this, or how are they going to figure it out, or how are they going to, that's kind of like the thrill in like some of the anticipation, is trying to like figure it out. So, especially when they do it in a way you didn't think of. Yeah, there are some geniuses out there that's like, oh yes, I would do this, and they're just like, oh yeah, the show does it. But for those, for example, say
those who have watched Squid Game, I would say the cookie cutter episode where they cut the cookie out.
Yeah.
I would not have thought of licking. I mean, I thought about using sweat. I didn't think about licking the back side of it. Now, could I have completed the challenge? 100%. But there's more than one way to complete the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And you can argue efficiency on one way or another, depending on the shape that you have. Knowing this information, you going along with the character as far as using the tricks, you have one person that snuck a lighter into it. So she burns her needle to make sure that it burns through the sugar to cut out her thing more efficiently. You have one guy that's licking the back of it. You have one person using sweat. You have one person that's, licking it over and over again on this needle and getting to the base of the thing to make a better sketch of the shape he's trying to cut out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get the aha moment of, I didn't think about that. It's rewarding in one way or another, and it strikes up conversation with other people because you have to factor in also the stress. It brings up a lot of great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what these Netflix shows have been doing.
Yeah.
If you've noticed that a lot of Netflix shows that have been popular are the ones that strike up conversation. No one cared about Squid Game. I didn't hear about Squid Game, at least for me, until I saw in the news about what would you do if you were in a death game and you had to do this. The answers may surprise you. And it's like, oh, I guess I should check out Squid Game. I don't know what a squid is, but I'll check out the game of the squid. Whatever. But
and the other thing is, I'm like, I did not know what Squid Game was. Like the actual playground game. I
love how he answered that question at the beginning. He's like, "This is what we call it, a Squid Game. The playground or the thing that we use it on looks like a squid." I'm like, "There we go. Thank you. I needed that." And then,
yeah, I'm like,
right at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not an actual. It doesn't look like a squid.
It really doesn't. But you're sitting there thinking like...
I'm like, I've seen the court. It does not look like a squid. I guess maybe like the kind of like the angled, head of a squid.
It's a hard maybe. It's a hard
maybe. I don't see any tentacles. I don't see any arms. I don't see any appendages.
We're not even in the water, my guy. How's the squid surviving on land, my guy? I
got a lot of questions, but I don't know. Squid Game is interesting. I'm not particularly into like watching this full show, because to be honest, I just watched someone's analysis of the show. I just spent 20 minutes watching that, not the actual show. I don't care to watch this entire show. I don't care to sit down and watch all, what is it, 7 episodes? 8 episodes?
It's 9 episodes, but they vary between 1 hour. There's one episode that's like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so the total of about 8.5 hours. I watched all of it in one night. I
mean, that's good on you. I'd rather sit there watching The Wire, but...
I would have rather, to be perfectly honest with you, I would have rather been asleep, but insomnia is a bitch. And I can't control that. So, like, if I had a choice, I would have rather just been asleep on that. I would have rather been getting snoozing because I still had to go to work the next day. And that was brutal.
Right.
That wasn't fun at all. And guess what? No one watched Squid Game, so it was just me talking about, hey, y'all watched Squid Game last night? We replied with, no, I was in bed at that point in time. I don't watch Squid Game, or what the hell is Netflix?
Yeah.
So I watched the whole thing, and I have to say, for all you people out there, don't binge it. It's fun to binge. Don't get me wrong. Any show's fun to binge could get immediate gratification. 8.5 hours of content. It's fine. It's not premium Netflix content. It's just popular right now. it won't be popular later. It's not groundbreaking by any means. It's really not. It's Korean kids games. Even the plot twist at the end. Like, I'm not going to say I saw it coming, because I didn't. I thought it at the beginning, because I was like, man, this dude really knows the games really well. It'd be crazy if he was the one running it. And then he died. But he really didn't die, though. We find out later. But I was like, it would be crazy if he was like running the game or something like that.
Yeah.
And then when they revealed it, I was like, I fucking knew it, but I changed my mind, so I can't say that I knew that stuff. I can't say I saw that coming. Because that'd be cheating. But this show, people have to understand why this show got popular.
But I feel like it's like Bird Box. It was
it's a fact.
It hit the platform at just the right time, and people started talking about it because that's the thing. Neither of these were necessarily unique. There have been, like I said,
not even groundbreaking.
Yeah. Like I said, the whole death game subgenre has been around for a while. And it's been on the rise these past couple of years. Like I said, there's escape room movies. This is a huge market for a lot of Korean and Japanese shows. Because like I said, there's like the King's Game, Alice in Borderland, Circle. There are a bunch of like this whole like death game genre. They're all, and they all have a similar premise, but none of them got as big as Squid Game got. At least in like the public, at least in terms of like public reception. Like, there's a ton of people talking about Squid Game. I'm seeing memes about Squid Game and stuff like that from people who normally don't watch like Japanese or Korean TV. So it's just like seeing stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, I feel like it's an algorithm thing. I think it's just a lot of it is just kind of like a chance aspect of it. The way that
this one got the lottery.
Yeah, and the way that Squid Game ends, like there's going to be a second season, right? It closes out with like, oh, there's a second game, and the main character is like trying to stop it. So like, that's kind of how it is. It's interesting, but
and he'll fail stopping it. I mean, like, we thought it was going to be stopped in this season. We had a cop that infiltrated who should have been caught way before. And I felt that was a plot contrivance. One of the weakest parts of the whole entire series is the cop trying to bring down the organization. This organization that is literally nothing but masks and faces and dehumanizing each other. But things like changing in voice, not knowing what your job is, doesn't raise enough red flags to kill this dude when you have been shown not to be afraid to kill anybody in any aspect. Makes no sense. There makes no sense in some scenes where you're like, this guy clearly doesn't know what he's doing. Clearly different than what he was doing before. And you're not going to shoot him on sight or pull him aside at all. Luckily, they don't let that go too far.
Who?
But they do let it go. Like, so spoiler again, everybody. So a cop is looking for his brother. And his brother got the same business card that we find that our main character has. Mm-hmm. And so the main character goes to, when he gets back home, tells the cops about the situation. People died, reports the murders that happened. No one believes him, but this detective does because his brother got the same card. His brother follows our main protagonist and infiltrates the organization. They wear masks and suits, so no one can tell that he is who he is. It's represented by a circle or a square or a triangle. The hierarchy has less questions. Mm-hmm. Throughout the series, he assumed other identities throughout it by taking specific masks, and the person he originally took, which is number 29. However, throughout it, they ask him, "Why aren't you doing your job? Mm-hmm. Why are you here early?" The operation works on clockwork efficiency.
Mm.
He clearly, and the thing is that they set up this organization to be so efficient that not only does everyone know what their job is, anyone that doesn't follow their job or people that are trying to take advantage of it can, because they know the system so well. And to have this person that has no idea what's going on in this organization of such efficiency, which has been shown, like for example, people die, you have coffin people that put them in the coffin, put them in the incinerator.
Put them in the coffin.
People that,
mm-hmm.
and you have people that make the food, you have people that, you know, have to stand a certain way, people that come in only when X, Y, Z happens. And you have this one guy that doesn't do that, doesn't know what's going on, has said that, and then no one does anything about it. There's literally one scene where they're asking the guy, hey, remember when we beat this dude up alive on the table because he wasn't dead yet? And he's like, what was that like? Who was the guy? And the guy was like, hold on, you were there. Why are you asking these questions? And the tension gets cut off because there's an emergency that happens, but they never come back to it. They allude like, hey, your voice is different and stuff like that, but then just shoot him on sight knowing that he might be infiltrating. That's the weakest part of the show. It's the cop plot.
I mean, you just let that be. I mean, it's a game.
I mean,
it's a series about like people choosing to be inundated and placed on an island where they compete for like billions of dollars, you know, with their life.
But my point is, my point is like this show. My point is like this show for some was such a breath of fresh air because like it felt like there was real human choices, which there were. Don't get me wrong, there were, but if this was judged on a regular scale as we treat other movies, that would have been heavily criticized because of how contrived it felt and how inconsistent it was. That whole subplot was inconsistent as hell.
I mean, that's fair.
And that's what comes with the judging of it. This show is not. People want to say like it gets 100% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics. Critics don't know what the hell they're talking about. Critics watch nothing but garbage all day, and they see something that seems a little different. And they want to give it 100% score. It's stupid. It doesn't make any freaking sense.
I don't know.
Don't trust critics.
Yeah, I don't put much stock into professional critics because
no one should either.
Yeah, I mean, I think
no one.
I think that. I don't know, like, if you like a show, like, as long as it's not on the CW, I think you should be, like, you should be fine with that. Like, you shouldn't care, like, what other people think. Like I said, as long as it's not, like, The Flash or
CW.
Or One Tree Hill, you're good.
Supergirl, anything like that. Get that garbage out of here. And we're going to talk about those shows. Those shows are not immune from us, guys. Like, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Arrow, Supergirl. We're going to talk about their Infinity War finale, Crisis on Infinite Earths. We're going to talk about that jumbled mess. Because you know who watched it? Me.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
I watched it.
I stopped.
I
stopped
it.
Like that halfway through. Like I stopped like 3 or 4 seasons ago of Arrow, and I stopped at like season 5, I think maybe, of Arrow, or The Flash, and then Arrow. So like, I haven't watched any of that in a long time. I mean, and it's not like a badge of like, oh, I saw it, but it's just. I think the thing with The Flash especially was it was like literally every season he's supposed to be the fastest man alive, and then there's someone faster.
Oh, like there's always someone faster.
I understand that when that's your superpower, that honestly nobody else should be able to be a problem, but somehow other people who aren't faster than you are a problem. And that's the thing that always gets me about The Flash, is that, yeah, someone maybe... The only things that should be a problem for Barry are people who can control time, people who can't be moved or are stronger than him at full speed. You know, so like, you know, they can turn to stone or something like that, or they're immovable. Or C, someone who is faster than him. 99% of the people that Barry Allen faces in the show are not any of those three things. And it makes no sense that somehow these people get the better of him. It doesn't matter if the guy has a cold gun. Take it out of his hands, Barry. He's been shown to be able to run faster than bullets, run faster than the ice laser. He's been able to take 3 or 4 people out of a car mid-drive in a matter of seconds. But then when someone gets away in their car, somehow they can't stop. Like, somehow he can't stop them. Like, what?
Or can't find them either.
That's the other thing. Like, people will walk out of a building. People who are not fast, mind you, will just walk out of a building, and he was like, oh, they got away. Chase them down! They're still at the...
You can hear the police. You hear them on the police scanner. Full security cameras. They're only 1 or 2 blocks in any direction. If I have to cover all of them within a second.
You can clear the entire building in a matter of seconds, but they somehow got away? Really, Barry?
It makes no sense.
Really?
And these are regular people, too.
I'm not talking about the Flash right now. No, we're going to move on. I'm done. Now is not the time to talk about the Flash.
Well, I want to make one last point. Look, they had ran out of villains, and they made one of the villains his future self. And I've had a problem with future self villains.
Yeah.
For when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, to Justice Lords from Justice League, to even the Flash. How is it that I get beat by a younger version of myself? Why? I know all my tactics. I'm older, with more experience. I am stronger, and proven to be faster in the Flash's case.
Yeah.
How do I lose? Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Hey, that deck you're using that I had, 30 years ago, I should know how to beat that. That was my younger self. How does a younger version of me beat a future me? I don't understand that concept. Justice Lord from Justice League. Oh yeah, you get a Superman, Batman, you get, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman especially gets beat by a younger version of her Amazon self when she has more experience, more combat experience. Like, and her power doesn't dwindle, so she's not, like, don't give me that whole, they're older and slower.
Right.
Diana does not have that weakness. She does not, and she's still going toe-to-toe, not just bodying her younger version. If a 21-year-old version of me in a mixed martial arts ring came up on me, I am older, and I am slower and fat as hell. I would still beat my younger self.
Yeah.
Confidently. You want to know why? I have far more experience than him, and I was him. I know his tactics.
Yeah.
I know what he's going to do.
Right.
Which gives me a significant advantage. He has athletics, but I have the experience and the knowledge and the intel to balance that out.
Yeah.
He cannot beat me. I know what he's going to do. So when the Flash, for example, has to fight his future self and wins, I have a problem with that. A huge problem with that. I have a problem with any character that beats their future self. It makes no damn sense. Did you forget what you were? Oh, I almost forgot what I was like when I was 20. No, the fuck you didn't. Look, I'm 29 right now. I know what I did when I was 9 years old. And my 9-year-old self was playing a lot of chess. I'd still beat my 9-year-old self in chess. What the hell? So I didn't remember how much vigor I had. He got old and senile.
There's no way, man. Like, it's
there's no way.
So all of that to say, it is a waste. It is a waste of our time. It is a waste of our time. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it another time and talk about the CW shows and why they're terrible. But
you got me upset and angry. That trope needs to die. That whole my previous self beats my future evil self. No, that trope needs to die. If my evil self came back in time, the world is effed. That's what that happens. Wanna know why? I can't beat him. The only hope we have is if your younger self beats your older self. How? That older self knows everything I'll do because he was me. He doesn't know everything about you. He does. Exactly, he does. That's the problem. He knows exactly what I'm going to do because he's me. but he didn't face this situation. That's a paradox, my guy. Like, then how did he get to where he is at? Like, well, if he's there and you're here, that means that you beat him. And so, like, yeah, so the future's written in stone, and that caused a whole slew of problems with time travel. Don't get me on that paradox. Like, if my older self beats my younger self, my younger self beats my older self, but I become my older self and goes back in time. I didn't learn a damn thing, which means I deserve to die. I deserve to die. If I beat my older self, and then in the future I say, you know what would be cool? Go back and whoop the ass of my older self.
See, this is the reason why. This is the reason why I said I was going to stop talking about the Flash, because I'm done with it. Yeah.
I'm done with it. I'm done with it.
I was having a good day. I saw Shang Chi. It was good. It was fun. You know, had a good dinner. You know, and then we started talking about the Flash, and everything went downhill. So, thanks for that.
Downhill.
My name,
like its ratings, like its ratings.
I'm Lord Third. Your number one trash player, the Garbage Goat, aka Jackie's Bay, and this is
the King of Dreams, Master of the Ten Rings, starring in his own movie of Shang Chi, trying to get here, bring his own chi, and he's just here being the King of Dreams. And we are
Sly Guys, delivering the hottest spot takes on all things journey and culture. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Later, y'all. Peace.